Good morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. Yes, it is. You know why? Because I choose it to be so the same way that you can for every moment of your life. Remember, your life is a whole bunch of moments, and within these moments, you get to choose what all of it's going to mean. No matter what's happening in your life, everything is fundamentally meaningless. See, it's the meanings that you give those things, which happen in moments, that determine the vibratory state that you will be in. And that vibratory state is the attractive force in your life. And that right there is the solution to every problem in your life. If you change how you're thinking, your results will change. Now, again, really think about that. Your outer world is a reflection of what's happening in your inner world. Your inner world is a world of thought, more specifically, automatic thought. And when you change that, everything changes. And that change is in exact proportion to whatever that was. See, that's what I worked on for me in my life, what I'm working for me in my life. That's what Dolly's working for herself on her life. This is what we together are working on and are here to share you because we want you to get that, to connect with that, because again, that's where the answer lies. That's why we study the books we study. This is why we've created Emergence to help you to make that shift internally. And I can tell you what, it's amazing. It's incredible when you do the work, and you know what I'm talking about if you've done the work. So, a reminder for you, if you haven't, is do this. In other words, apply this as if your life depends on it. You know why? Because it freaking does. It does 100%. All right, now what have we been studying through these sessions? We've been studying this beautiful gem here, The Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier. If you don't have a copy of this, make sure you do get a copy of it. And then when you get it, yes, read it. Yes, study it. Yes, underline it. Yes, highlight it. Yes, even memorize it. But beyond all of that, and more importantly than that, apply it in your life. Remember, application is where it's at. Knowledge has no power in and of itself. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. And the only way it becomes power is when it is used. You want to see whether or not you've been using it? Just look at your results. If there hasn't been change, that means the application hasn't set in yet enough to deliver that change. That doesn't mean you haven't been doing the work. It just means you haven't been doing the work enough to deliver that change. Continue to do the work. All right. Now, let's go into this, shall we? Let's go into this beautiful gem. Type in the comments, I'm ready if you're ready. And if you're not ready, too bad. We're going in anyways. Okay. So let's go into this. 1, 2, 3. Boom. There it is. All right. So the page that we are on is page 180. And I love this. Remember, this has everything to do with you changing your results, changing your lifestyle, changing how much you earn, what you do for work, your lifestyle, all of it. And I mean, it has everything to do with that. Now, what does he say here? He said, God never sent us anything but good. He never gave us disease. When we allow disease to take hold of us, it is because we have lost touch with God, lost in the perfect model of us he holds in mind. And what we have got to strive for is to get back the belief in that perfect model, to forget the disease image we are holding in our thought. Now, remember the story of Alexander and his famous horse, Bucephalus? No one could ride the horse because it was afraid of its shadow. But Alexander faced it toward the sun and rode it without trouble. Face toward the sun, and the shadows will fall behind you too. Face toward the perfect image of every organ, and the shadow of disease will never touch you. There is no germ in a draft capable of giving you a cold. There is no bacteria in exposure to weather that can give you fever and pneumonia. It is you that gives them to yourself. In other words, it's the narrative that's happening inside. The draft doesn't reason this out, and neither does your body. They are both of them merely phases of matter. They are not intelligent. It is your conscious mind that has to be educated to think that a cold must follow exposure to draft. And you know what? I've heard that so many times. Oh, close the door. Oh, the cold weather. It's going to give you a cold. And you know what's interesting? That's not even where it comes from. That's actually folklore. This it is that suggests it to your subconscious mind and brings the cold into being. Before you decide again that you have a cold, ask yourself, who is it that's taking this cold? It cannot be my nose. That's actually quite funny. For it has no intelligence. It does only what my subconscious directs. And anyway, how could my nose know that a draft of air has been playing on the back of my neck? If it wasn't my nose that decided it, what was it? The only thing it could have been is my mind. Well, if mind can tell me to have a cold, surely it can stop that cold. So let's reverse the process. And instead of holding before our subconscious mind images of colds and fevers, think only of health and life and strength. Let the weak man say, I am strong. If you want health, you must think healthy thoughts. Instead of trying to think back to discover how we caught the cold, and thus strengthening the conviction that we have one, let us deny its existence and so knock the props out from under the creative faculties that are originating the cold. Let us hold before our subconscious mind only the perfect idea of nose and head and throat that is in universal mind. Let us make it use the truth for its pattern instead of illusionary ideas of conscious mind. Now, I want you to really sit in this for a moment because what he's talking about here is a principle. And this applies also as well when it comes to your lifestyle, how much you earn, what you do for work. Will you be able to get what you would love for your life? Will you be able to make that an actual fact if your mind is saturated with thoughts of its opposite? What's the answer? The answer is no. It doesn't work. Now, here he's talking about health. Every form of disease or sickness is solely the result of wrong thinking. The primary law of being is the law of health and life. When you recognize this, when you hold before your mind's eye only a perfect body, perfect organisms functioning perfectly, you will realize the truth that makes you free. Remember, as within, so without. There are so many documented cases of this within the medical field. People who got healthy with placebos, people who weren't affected by things, and they were given a sugar pill. People who healed when the doctors said it wasn't going to be possible, that it was going to take a long time, and next thing you know is it's turned around. You know, with every one of those stories, the ones that have been documented, the thing that's in common with them is stuff that happened within the mind that led to that. Farnsworth, in his practical psychology, tells of his physician who has lived on a very restricted diet for years while at home. But once a year, he comes to New York for a week. While here, he eats anything and everything that his fancy dictates and never suffers the least inconvenience. As soon as he gets home, he has to return to his diet. Unless he sticks to his diet, he expects to be ill, and he is ill. As a man thinketh, so is he. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As a man thinketh based on what he believes to be true, so is he. As a woman thinketh based on what she believes to be true, so is she. As you thinketh in your heart, so are you. What one expects to get, he's apt to get, especially where health is concerned, for matter has no sensation of its own. The conscious mind is what produces pain. It is what feels, acts, or impedes action. And by the way, this is really amazing, profound truth. And really sit in this. I remember when I heard this for the first time, it blew my mind. Think about pain, for instance, when you are going through pain. And then when you go to sleep, where does the pain go when you sleep? Sit in that for a moment. Where does the pain go when you sleep? That's a great question, isn't it? And see, the pain dissipates when you're in that God zone, when you're in that subconscious part of you, it's when you're conscious that the pain is actually felt. And that is really crazy when you think about it.